It's like a pilot checks with his co-pilot to make sure, the fuel, the flaps, everything works before they take off. And so, it's tough flying a plane that keeps crashing, and somehow you manage to survive. So, you make some profits and all that stuff, but what's the point if you're constantly exhausted from the repeatable, avoidable issues that you yourself are creating because of a lack of process?
Mm-hmm. So you felt like you kept falling into the same hole repeatedly, year after year, season after season.
Yeah, so it's either a process problem or a people problem, and we had good people, so therefore it could only be process. Like at the end of the day, we didn't have bad people, so it was purely process problems. And so once we dialed in on those processes to prevent bad things from happening, things changed. And once we created those meeting structures with the flow efficiency meetings, with the agendas, with the lists, in the order that everything's in a specific order, repeatable, the business started just running beautifully. And I was able to step away, and the business ran better without me, which is incredible. It's ironic that the owner of the business isn't necessarily the best manager. And so imagine you have people that embrace this process and they double down on it. You're going to get some great results. And so, it's great. I get my dividend checks, and I don't have to go out there and deal with Mrs. Smith talking about our tulips and fence boards that are falling off and the windstorm that snapped their trees in half. That was all fun for the first 35 years. And so it's really liberating now to work on improvements. I just work on efficiency and improvements and leadership training, which is a big part of it.
And I'm wondering, you're a pretty objective guy as a business owner. I'm wondering if there's kind of any subjective moments that come to mind that led to this change. Like, was there a specific client that you were dealing with where maybe you dropped the ball and you were like, this is it. Like, I've had enough.
Yeah. So there was two clients actually. One, was a woman who was incredibly high level woman. This woman was top shelf. Nothing would get by her. And we just weren't good enough to live up to her expectations. So that was interesting. And I realized it was all process problems. Anyway, we got through, we had a happy client. They hired us back a year later for more work. I realized that if we had the processes dialed in and we would have herded the sheep, so to speak, we wouldn't be running around chasing things. And so it had to be on our terms. And that's part of the process, setting up things so that people work on your terms. We had another client that just kept moving the goalpost for us. Actually, we had two clients that did that. And that was exhausting to try and keep up with the constant changes. It shows you if you don't have a great process and you can't keep up with people like that change their minds all the time, you're probably not good enough. And so it really tests you. The easy clients are a breeze. They're not all going to be easy. It's when you get the hard ones and you treat them well and you get out of it unscathed. That's when, that's the true proof of how well your processes are working.
So that's great. And it sounds like, based on that, you can kind of identify with how it's like for a lot of other business owners to struggle. Like, it sounds like what you were going through was actually not so much the exception, it was more like the rule.
Yeah, I consider myself extremely organized, extremely on point. The difference is that I can't be everywhere to manage everything. So I realized what I could do is make processes that are great for everyone and get their input into those processes. And I think that was the game changer, to be honest with you, is to identify these processes that are just repeatable and scalable and then have people follow in the slipstream. We do onboarding now, and the onboarding is job shadowing. Like, you job shadow the best people for sometimes 2 or 3 months. Yes, it costs a lot of money. You'll find out very quickly if the person can keep up, whether they're jumping ahead of the game or not. Job shadowing is so important. Yes, it costs money. It's way cheaper than just throwing somebody into the fire and saying good luck. That is very stressful for them. And I've been put in that position when I've worked for other companies in a consulting kind of mode. And you figure it out. You learn a lot of things. It's not the culture you want to be in, though. That's for sure.
And what kind of culture do you want to be in?
I want to be shown how to do things. I want to have predictability. I want to have an understanding of what my peers are doing. I want to understand if there's a conflict, how it gets resolved in advance rather than through friction. And so those things make for great culture. And so, business isn't easy at the best of times. Imagine if you have poor people and poor process in place, and even worse, poor culture. So that's something that you can feel a good culture. It is so uncommon to have great cultures in business. And when you see it, it's something else. Oftentimes, I've yet to see a good culture where you have owners that have arrogance and hubris. Usually it's a toxic culture. They can make a lot of money for sure, but man, is there a lot of grief and stress and turnover and unhappy employees. And so if your only goal is to make money, you can be ruthless, and I've seen that work. I see the collateral damage, the turnover, the lawsuits, the divorces, the fights between the business owners and partners sometimes. It is just ugly. And so, making money is super important. So is having a good time. And they're not mutually exclusive. The trick is to get them to work together.
Okay. Yeah. And so it sounds like it's just not a good long-term strategy then.
In terms of?
Well, just in terms of, like having the ruthless mindset.
Yeah. So, it's a lot better to live in, North America than Russia. Let's just put it that way.
And so, yeah, for business owners wanting to set up a good culture, a good culture is so uncommon, right?
Correct.
And so how is it that they would even start?